bring in Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio. He lost his bid for another term earlier this month. Senator, thanks for being with us this morning. You know, it's been fascinating to listen to these after-action reports, these autopsies about why Democrats went wrong. Your race, though, you have spent not just your campaign, but your entire professional life focused on workers, the thing that Democrats say, oh, we should have focused more on working people across racial and gender lines. So what is your assessment, not just of what happened in your race, where you ran well ahead of of Kamala Harris, but of what the national party needs to be thinking about now?
Well, I wrote a book about the Senate called Desk 88, a history of the senators who held my desk. And I try to keep an historic perspective. And Claire knows this very well. The Democrats, really since NAFTA, this wasn't a 1 year, even a 4 year problem. The Democrats, since NAFTA, have drifted away from workers have drifted away from Democrats because that. I grew up in Mansfield, Ohio, with the sons and daughters of steel workers and auto workers and electricians and millwrights and carpenters and laborers and bricklayers. And those jobs began to move south into non-union states. Then they began to move overseas because presidents of both parties, frankly, betrayed those workers with these trade agreements. And we've got to talk directly to workers. We've got to restore the tradition and the history of Democrats being the party of workers, not just union workers, whether you punch a clock or swipe a badge or work for tips or care for an aging parent or raising children. We've got to be that party and focus on the dignity of work. We didn't do that over the last 30 years, and we paid this price where far too many workers left the Democrats. As you said, I ran 7.5 points ahead of the national ticket. You can't do much better than that. But when we have the historic perspective of workers leaving our party, we've got a serious problem.
Well, so, Senator, when I looked at the races, even a year out, I said, well, Sherrod Brown's going to be fine in Ohio. The guy is connected to Ohio better than anybody. And you were one of the Democrats that I was like, he's going to figure out a way to win because, again, he has such a connection with working class voters. And so when you lose, that sort of suggests that the Democratic Party is in deep, deep trouble across the Midwest, the industrial Midwest. I want to know, what did you hear from workers when you were campaigning who would have voted for you 4 years ago, who would have voted for you 8 years ago, who voted for Barack Obama in 2012 and 2008? What did they tell you? Why were they leaving the Democratic Party? What was the sort of the, not NAFTA, et cetera, which I totally agree with, but what was the gut answer that they told you that made you kind of realize, man, we've lost working Americans?
Yeah, even with the accomplishments we talk about, it's a million veterans, 40,000 in Ohio have already gotten care because of our bill on the exposure to burn pits. Even with the pensions, we save $100,000 pensions in Ohio that Wall Street essentially took away, if you will. Even with the prescription drug at $35 a month or $35 a month ceiling for insulin, even with those things, it was hard to start the conversation because particularly in small town in rural Ohio, the city like I grew up in of 50,000, a lot of the Midwest, as you know, Joe, is dotted with a lot of small industrial cities that provided a decent middle class wage. You couldn't even start the conversation about being a Democrat in many of those counties where the bottom dropped out 10 or 15 points worse than even 6 years ago. So until we start talking directly to workers, when we listen to workers about why they've left and where they've gone, they don't necessarily love Trump. they just think that the Democratic brand is so damaged, whether in Missouri or Ohio.
Why those specifically? What did you hear over and over again specifically? Why have they turned against Democrats the way they have?
Well, they don't think we're the party that represents them anymore. I saw the transgender ads and I saw that. But one of my favorite, I won't do the whole story of Dr. King is when he was assassinated. He was in Memphis because because he was there talking about the dignity of work. And King, better than any historic figure, wove together civil rights, human rights, and worker rights. And we don't do that. We're the party of civil rights, as we should be. We're the party of human rights, and I will never, ever back off. I voted for marriage equality 30 years ago. I was one of the few that did. I'll never back off that. But one thing about worker rights is it binds all of us, because except for the coupon clippers you occasionally have on your show, Joe, 90% of the vote of the people in this country, what binds us together is we work. Again, swiping a badge, punching a clock, whatever kind of work you do. And we should be talking to that. We should center we'll talk about other things. I talked a lot about abortion rights, of course.
Right.
But we should center our discussion on workers and how they are the centerpiece of our country.
Right.
They are what binds us as a nation.
And by the way, when he says coupon clippers, what he's talking about, Mike Barnicle, of course, the Boston Red Sox over the past 3 years offering prospects coupons to Barnhill Country Buffet in Pensacola, Florida. All you can eat buffets, thinking that was going to somehow get Ohtani. It failed. Maybe it'll get Soho.
Oh, we're going to get Soho.
Soto.
Yeah, we're going to get Soto, no doubt about it.
Oh, my God. Come on.
Of course not.
Joe, does Barnicle...
Of course, he's not going to end up with the Guardians either. So that's what I wanted to say.
Does Barnicle understand that Red Sox fans have become almost as bad as Yankee fans? Does he understand that fact? Speaking of finding a way to bind you all together.
Thank you, Senator.
That hurts.
We salute you, Senator.
It cuts like a knife.
Claire, help me here. Right. Claire and I root for America's teams, the Cardinals and the Guardians. Real Middle America baseball.
Yeah.
Okay, Sharon, listen. I am totally down with you on what you're talking about, the dignity of work. But the other undressed topic here that we've got to expose is that most of these guys that you're looking at right now think baseball is only played in New York and Boston. They do not understand.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
that
the East Coast.
Visit those other cities.
Not just those two cities, just the East Coast. But go ahead.
Oh, come on, you guys. You are such snobs when it comes to baseball.
No.
It is boring.
Claire, I think you should let the woman talk. I mean, all you guys interrupt Claire. But the fact is the Cardinals have the second best franchise in American League, Major League history in terms of world championships and competing.
Wow.
I'd like to say the Guardians do. But you guys all ought to listen to Claire about that.
Wait, Sharon, why I have you, I've got to get this question in. You're back there. You're walking on the floor. You're talking to your colleagues. How confident are you that there are more than 3 votes to stop Matt Gaetz?
I don't know that for sure. I'm pretty confident. I'm afraid that, in just talking to colleagues last night, that Gaetz is so bad that Republicans will jettison him and then bring in the other terrible cast of characters and maybe making a path for him. I don't know. But I'm not there to vote on these anymore. But longer term, we've got to get our act together and fight for workers and focus on workers, as you know.
So, Senator, I'm going to pass up the chance at a cheap shot based upon Cleveland Guardians playing the Chicago White Sox 19 times a year and thus making the playoffs. But we're going to let that go. But I want to ask you, given your beyond admirable...
Just lost an election, Mike.
Beyond your admirable career of fighting for people who we all grew up with, who work with their hands and built this country, what are you going to do now in January? Do you have a plan yet? It's tough getting defeated. There's no doubt about that, given your record.
It's a little early.
What are you going to do?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a lot of options. People are talking to me. I would only say one thing when you said people working with your hands. If you'd spend the time I do in work sites and manufacturing jobs, companies and small businesses, whatever, I always reject the term Rust Belt because we're not that. But it's working with your hands and it's working with your brains. These jobs in American manufacturing are increasingly high tech. They take great skill. I spend a lot of time with carpenters or bricklayers or millwrights apprentice programs, and I see these 5 years of workers getting trained, starting at $20 an hour. At the end of 5-year apprentice, they're making $35 an hour with insurance and health care, and they have no college debt. And those are highly skilled middle-class jobs. I spoke at one of the programs as it launched, apprentice program, and all these young people were wearing shirts that said path to the middle class, and we're going to see more of that. We were successful in the CHIPS bill that you've talked about on this show of having a project labor agreement, 7,000 good paid middle class union jobs building these plants, and we're going to see more of that if done right.
All right, Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown of
Thank you,
Ohio.
Senator.
I want you to know when the Red Sox aren't in, I'm always cheering for Cleveland to win their first World Series. And I'm serious, since 1948. It is way past time. And by the way, one other thing, when Mike Barnicle talks about working with his hands, he's talking about his wife gives him allowance in gold bullion. And so he gets it, and he's got to carry it upstairs to the safe. Is that right, Mike?
No, the safe's downstairs.
Oh, my God. Okay.
All right. Senator, thank you so much for
Thanks.
being with
Good
us.
news.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator.
We are